people of the World Wide Web. So it's the weekend, it's Sunday, and yes, I've actually seen a lot of movies this week, so I'm going to try and break it up over and spread them out. But yeah, the second one we have seen is Maxxxine. So yes, this is the third movie in the kind of Ty West's, I don't know if it's a class as a trilogy, but yeah, it's the Mia Goth kind of horror franchise. So we had X, and then we had Pearl, and then the character Maxxxine from X. Obviously she survives, spoiler alert, unfortunately, if you come along to this, and she is trying to make her name a few years later in Hollywood. She has been doing porn, and then she's basically moved on to get a role in a horror movie, and her past is coming back to haunt her. That is the gist of the movie. The trailer does look good. It's set in the 80s, has a lot of 80s vibes and that, but obviously with the undertone of the horror and that littered in there here and there. There is nothing after the credits, so you don't have to wait. There is something that there is a scene that is just showing when the credits going up, but you don't need to stay for anything. It doesn't highlight. I don't know if there is going to be anything after this movie for the Mia Goth character of Maxxxine or something. It kind of wraps it all up in my eyes. And yeah, there are a lot of other people in here. So there, Gianfranco Esposito, if I pronounce his name, obviously from Breaking Bad and that, he is her agent. You have Michelle Monaghan, she is a police detective in here. Kevin Bacon, who's a private eye, who kind of gets a little bit on the wrong side of Maxxxine at times, and a few other people littered in here and there. I don't want to say too much. And I thought the movie was alright. Let's give it. So we'll get the spoiler warning up and we shall get into it. So yes, so this movie starts with Maxxxine Minx auditioning for the role in this horror movie, and her doing quite a good job at impressing it. And you have this kind of director, this female director, who is doing a sequel movie, and she is kind of being a bigger fan. Obviously this is then Maxxxine going home to her normal life, which she is kind of a exotic dancer, as you see. She seems to do a lot of things, and in between doing this, she starts to get a package at her door first with a videotape, and it basically is part of the porn film that was filmed on the first movie of X. And basically she is aware that someone is after her, or is aware of her. At this point you have this killer, so girls are going missing and they're being killed by this killer in the area as well, so people are being told to watch out, and people at Maxxxine know, unfortunately, start dying. So some of her friends who she works with, it kind of is indicated within the trailer, but it's just referenced there. As we go on, Maxxxine is obviously as she learns the role, then she starts to go through meeting the cast and stuff like that, and this is where then she gets a note to say, come to this place and meet me. This is where she meets Kevin Bacon, and Kevin Bacon explains that he's a private eye. He's been told to find her, which he has done. He won't say who is by, and basically she has to go to this place, and everything will be resolved. Sounds quite ominous. Maxxxine doesn't want anything of it and tells her to leave him alone. And then she goes away and they have a few altercations, because unfortunately she doesn't like Kevin Bacon, to the point that unfortunately Kevin Bacon ends up dead. Won't say where, what, why, how, or that. That's for people to find out. Obviously between all this, she has another friend who is in the he's in a record store or a VHS store that would have been at that time, and unfortunately he gets killed because she gives him the VHS to try and trace back. Obviously the cops, as stuff goes on, the cops are very much like linking it to Maxxxine, that they know there's something involved, so they're kind of following in the background. So as I say, she gets scared. She goes to her agent, who's Giancarlo. I can't remember his apologies, I'm butchering his name. But he's his agent. She explains what has gone on. He protects her, and he helps get rid of Kevin Bacon. Then she obviously has this address that she goes to, so she goes to this address to basically find out, and there is a video playing, which you see at the beginning of the movie, of her as a child auditioning for some Christian stuff. This is when it is revealed who the killer is. Again, even though it's a spoiler, I'm going to keep this out of this review, so I am doing it. you kind of know where it's going. It makes a bit more sense once the reveal has been there. Was it the greatest? I didn't think so. It then goes on to her kind of being sacrificed to get rid of her sins. The cops turn up, there's a shootout, and then Maxxine kind of is heralded as the winner, and then she becomes on to be this big star, kind of finishing off the whole story from X and that. And obviously she gets her big break as kind of her alternate self, which is the old lady, and then Pearl as she kind of wanted, and there are flashbacks and that. And then you see her as a celebrity, and then you see a film of how a film does and stuff like this, and that is it. What did I think of the movie? As I said, I think it was all right. I've been very mixed on all of the films. X, it's like a low-budget horror, and I weren't the biggest fan. I'm not the biggest horror fan, so it doesn't necessarily appeal to me, and I think that was maybe part of the problem. Pearl went a slightly different way. Again, it highlighted how good Mia Goth is. I think she is quite a good actress and stuff like that. But again, I wasn't really, it was worth a watch. I may watch it again, you know, when I get all three. Maxxxine, probably my favourite of the best. I'm not saying it's budget. It very much feels like an 80s one, the horror and stuff. And there are some gruesome stuff that happens in between it, which is, I mean, he's always done good, Ty West and the blood and gore. But I say, it doesn't feel like it's, each individual bit doesn't feel like it's the greatest story or stuff that's going on. Overall, how each movie looks and stuff, I think is done very well for what Ty West has been given. The interconnected story, I think, is very clever, and obviously how it's Mia Goth and stuff like this. But outside of it being a clever interlinked story, each of them I've not really rated them. And I mean, I'm going to rate this like 5.4. I mean, I know it's rated more. I mean, it's worth a watch. It is enjoyable, but I didn't find it the greatest story in the world. It was almost kind of like dealing with a female who's had trauma and kind of how she's kind of overcoming that with some blood and gore thrown in. And it is what it is. But that has been my review of Maxxxine. Have you seen this movie or any of the Ty West ones, X-Pearls? Let me know your thoughts and feelings down in the comment below. I've been Cypher Signal Screen Time. I'll be back next weekend with another 2 movie reviews. Otherwise, I shall see you in the next one.